everybody, my name is Mr. Francy and welcome back to Mr. Francy Reads. So today I'm doing my reading vlog, talking all the books that I've read between the 25th of June and the 1st of July 2023. So if you've seen my monthly wrap, then you're not going to see a lot of new stuff in this video, but I've kept up my reading vlogs for the entire year and I don't want to stop now, so let's go over it in reading vlog format where I get more time to talk about these books. It's going to be an interesting end when we get to what I'm currently reading, but until that point, the first book that I read this week was The Voyage of the Dawn Treader by C.S. Lewis. This is book number 5 in the Chronicles of Narnia series. So the premise of this book is that the Dawn Treader is the first ship Narnia has seen in centuries. King Caspian has built it for his voyage to find the 7 lords, good men, whom his evil uncle Miraz banished when he usurped the throne. The journey takes Edmund, Lucy, and their cousin Eustace to the eastern islands beyond the Silver Sea towards Aslan's country at the end of the world. I don't know why I had trouble saying that again. I did that in my monthly wrap too. I almost said Asian country, but it's Aslan's country. Anyway. To my thoughts on the book, I have to say that this is my favourite of the whole series so far. It was so wondrous and whimsical. So many different things happened that showed me the extent of C.S. Lewis's imagination. I loved seeing Prince Caspian, that is King Caspian in this one, again, and it was good to have Eustace there, and I really appreciated his character arc throughout the book. Grew to love Reepicheep, the mouse, as well. It was a truly fantastic book, and I cannot wait for book number 6. Yeah, so my journey with the Chronicles of Narnia, I only have 2 books left to go, but my journey's kind of been up and down. The majority of the books that I've read in this series got 4 stars from me. They were great. There were just a couple of things here or there that could have pushed them over the edge and made them 5-star reads, but the majority of them, were 4 stars. But this one is arguably my favorite because of how whimsical and wondrous it was. There were so many different things that took place within this book, and that's no easy feat because they're all novellas. So to get so many different things in such a short book is hard to accomplish when you don't want to confuse your reader. You're trying to find this balance between the fine line that is, I don't have a lot of pages to work with. I have a lot of different things that I want the reader to experience, but I don't want to throw it at the reader all at one time and confuse them. And I have to say that C.S. Lewis found a way to do this really, really well. Every single moment that we experienced something different, I really enjoyed. So the majority of the book, we're on this boat, the ship, whatever you want to call it, and we're on a quest to try and find these men that have been banished. And every time the ship stops somewhere else, something completely different that is fantastical occurs. And I enjoyed each and every moment. We also have a mouse on board by the name of Reepicheep. Reepicheep has got to be one of the best characters I've ever experienced. He's like the most confident little mouse that I've ever read about. But I had a lot of fun. One thing that I do need to warn you if you've read the books up to this one so far, but not this one yet, is that the 2 elder children are not in this book. Also, Aslan says something to the children who are there at the end of the book, which had me a little sad. I don't want to say what it is, but it had me a little sad, so I'm interested to see what's going to happen in the next one, because I didn't think that was going to happen, to be honest, but we'll see how we go. But in saying that, the whole book was a whole lot of fun. On audio, I think it was a 6-hour book at one-time speed. I listened faster, but on one-time speed, it's about 6 hours. And yeah, I enjoyed myself all the way through this one, so I do highly recommend it. I recommend the series as a short, easy-to-read series, but as far as picking out a book to me that stands above all the rest, I'd go with this one. It's my favourite in the series so far. So an overwhelming 5 stars from me, quite possibly the best book in the entire series so far. Alright, so when I finished that book, I picked up a book that I randomly placed onto my TBR, which is this book, Helping Hand by Jay Northcote. This is an adult LGBTIQ+, male, incredibly spicy Goodreads want to call it romance, and okay, if that's what you want to call it, that's absolutely fine, because I don't know what else you should call it if you don't call it a romance. I'm just going to call it a spicy book, because practically that is what it is. This novella, which is shorter than Voyage of the Dawn Treader, is 95% spicy bedroom scenes, and then has 5% of scenes that take place outside the bedroom that kind of help to move the story along. But the PC way of saying the premise, which is very tiny in and of itself anyway, is Jez Fielding and James Mackenzie, Big Mac to his mates, are in their second year at university. After partying too hard last year, they make a pact to rein themselves in. While their housemates are out drinking every weekend, Jez and Max stay in to save cash and focus on their studies. And now for the unspoken part, and so much more. When you leave two men to their own devices, ... things happen. Okay, so let's talk about this book. So first of all, I want to talk to you about how this ended up on my TBR. So I was looking into a book I've read previously called The Housemates by Ian Robb Wright on Goodreads. And whenever I put the name of that book into the search engine on Goodreads, this book came up. And the reason why it did is because this is actually book one in The Housemates, the series. So I kept seeing it, and one day I was tempted to click on it and see what the heck it's about. When I found out it was an LGBTIQ plus male-male romance, I thought I might as well give it a go. And when I found out it was incredibly short, I was even more motivated to pick it up, because it's always good to have some shorter books to read towards the end of the month. I really enjoyed this book. For someone who has become as well read as I have, I'm someone who knows, to generalize, I know certain things that I require to enjoy a book, and I'm generalizing that. That could be within any genre. So one of those things being, it has to have an intriguing plot. If it doesn't intrigue me, and it's a long book, I'm going to DNF. If it's a short book, I might try and struggle my way through, but it's got to intrigue me. It's got to have an intriguing character. And then there are genre-specific things that need to occur. So for the sake of a romance, I need to enjoy the romance that's playing out. If it's a horror, it needs to be a horror. Otherwise, I feel like it's a waste of my time, and so on and so forth. But with this book, what's really interesting is the fact that it's 95% spice and 5% non-spice. The writing style that Jay Northcote adopts is incredibly intriguing. I kind of fell into the book. I'm saying this in a metaphorical way, as though I physically did. Everything else melted around me while I was reading this book. I just felt so truly captivated by it that something could have happened around me and I wouldn't have known. And that is not necessarily because of the fact that I was reading a spicy book, but more to the point of Jay Northcote as an author. The way he writes, it's so easy to, in the best possible way, get lost in this world and just feel like you've, as I say, metaphorically speaking, fallen into the book. And so I really love that. I came out of this book wanting to read more. I just thought I would read this as a once-off because it connects to the Housemates, because it's book one in the Housemates series, and came out of it thinking, my goodness, I want to read the rest. So I am going to be putting the Housemates series by Jay Northcote onto my 2024 SAS list. However, I plan to actually read book 2 this year, so my goal was to read no more of these. But then I had an LGBTIQ plus book on a TBR that's coming up at some month very soon. I don't remember which one, that had a book on there that the moment I saw that, I thought, no, I can easily swap that out and replace it with book 2 in this series. So yeah, I just think it was really, really well done. The writing style is extremely straightforward, so it's really easy to read, but just, it's hard to explain, but just the way that Jay Northcote writes, it's just such an enticing read. He's an amazing author, despite the fact that it's really short. And I think, you know, there's this illusion that just because a book is short as being a novella, for example, that it's going to be so much easier to write. But novellas come with challenges that longer books don't. You are limited when you're writing a short book to getting everything out that you want to get out in this book within a really short amount of pages. And Jay Northcote did a really impressive job, and I can't wait to read more. I have the feeling we won't be focusing on the same characters in each book. We'll have different characters, but that does make sense because Jane Northcote is calling it the Housemates series. So what are the two characters' names again? Jez and James live with other guys in this house, so I assume that we'll follow different housemates in each book. But yeah, it was well done. The spice level is extremely high, so if you're going to read this book, know that going in. If 5 is the most amount of chilies that you can give to a spicy book, this gets an overwhelming 5 chili rating, so do be mindful of that. It is extremely, extremely graphic, and the majority of the book is that graphicness, so be mindful of that too. But in saying that, I enjoyed it. And I think the stuff that occurs outside of the bedroom, that 5% of non-spicy stuff really helped to move the plot forward and, showed us Jez and James getting to know each other, whilst also we as the reader getting to know Jez and James individually. And Jez is the perspective that we follow, so we certainly get to know a lot more about Jez. So while it is 95% spice, we do still get to learn more about them other than the spicy scenes. I guess I'm overstating it at this point, but it was a good read, and you just need to know that despite the fact that it's 95% spicy, it was still a really well-written book. So really, really happy about it and cannot wait to get on to book number 2 very, very soon. Okay, so those were the last 2 books that I read in the month of June. The next book I picked up was this book, Call It What You Want by Bridget Kemmerer. This is a YA contemporary, and the first book that I'm picking up for the month of July. And I have to say, at this point, this book is just not doing it for me. As much as Helping Hand definitely was doing it for me, I was saying, when I was speaking about Helping Hand and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, I know what I want as a generalization when it comes to books. And back in the day, I read Letters to the Lost and More Than We Can Tell, I think is the companion book to Letters to the Lost, both by Bridget Kemmerer. I loved both of them. Then I picked up her first fantasy book, Bridget Kemmerer's, and I didn't like that at all. But what intrigued me about this one, Call It What You Want, is that it's another contemporary of hers. But I think, as readers, we evolve. When we read so many books every single year, you can't help but evolve with time. And it was a long time ago that I read Bridget Kemmerer, and my reading experience was very different back then to what it is now. And so I don't know if it's the book or if it's that my tastes have changed, or I don't know, something completely different. Maybe I'm comparing it to other contemporary authors that I have grown to love, and that has helped me to see things differently. But either way, I'm just not really enjoying this book as much as I was hoping that I would, particularly with it being my first Bridget Kemmerer since reading Letters to the Lost and More Than We Can Tell. So overall, it's been a disappointing start, and I'm still kind of in the middle of deciding what I want to do. Part of me wants to keep going to see if it gets any better, and another part of me just wants to DNF this book and start my next book, which is Crossed by Ali Condi, book number 2 in the Matched trilogy. I loved book 1, and I'm really intrigued to see what happens in book 2, so I probably will end up DNFing Call It What You Want, but I just don't know at this stage. It really could go either way. So just watch this space. And when you get the next reading vlog from me, you'll know. At this stage, I'm leaning more towards DNFing, but hey, time will tell. I might change my mind. So not really a lot to say in this one. Let's look ahead and see what I plan to read this week. So at this stage, since I haven't officially DNF'd it, my plan is to finish Call It What You Want. Whether I DNF it or not, the next book that I plan to pick up is Crossed by Ali Condi. So book number 2 in the Matched trilogy. I loved book 1. I loved the way it ended. I feel like it's really set us up for something amazing in book 2. It's a great dystopian series. I do highly recommend it. If you've read the Divergent series, the Selection series, the Hunger Games series, or the Arc of a Scythe series, I do recommend picking up the Matched series, at least book one. I did really enjoy it. I love my YA dystopians, and it's really easy to read, but also quite intriguing. So yeah, looking forward to that. And then once I finish that one, if I have time, which if I DNF Call It What You Want, then I will have time. If I don't, then I won't. Then I'll pick up my next book, which is Shutter Island by Dennis. It's either Dennis Lehane or Lehane, but either way, I'll know once I start. And this is an adult thriller, and so I'm looking forward to reading that. I have a goal to read more thrillers in the second half of 2023 because I want to be more well-rounded when it comes to my genres, and my thrillers have been lacking to this point. I think I've read 3 or 4 thrillers in the first half of 2023, so yeah, good to be able to pick up another one. So that's kind of where things stand at the moment. Not a heck of a lot more to add at this stage, so I will leave it there. What have you been reading in the past week, and have you been enjoying it? Let me know in the comments section below. Now, there are a whole lot more favourites and non-favourites coming your way, so I'm going to very quickly tell you what the schedule is. So next up, you will get, next up we are starting my favourites and non-favourites. I thought we'd started them already. I do apologise. We start my favourites and non-favourites. I'm already partway through recording all of them. That's why I feel like we're continuing on, but we're starting. Okay, so the next video you'll see is my favourite authors, then you'll see my favourites by genre, and then you'll see my favourite series. So lots of different favourite videos coming out this week, and next week we're going to be doing the non-favourites. So yeah, very interesting dynamic between the two there. But 3 favourite videos for the first half of the year, all beginning from the next video onwards. But until that point, I hope that you have been having an amazing first half of your reading year, and I hope that the second half of your reading year is just as amazing. I'm going to let you all go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another, and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. And until next time, happy reading. Bye everyone.